This is Movers and Shakers, where we interview the upcoming generation of Make It Happen multifamily investors to share their story.
Welcome to the Movers and Shakers podcast. My name is Gino Barbaro, co-founder of Jake and Gino, multifamily investor, educator, father, mentor, and I am joined by my co-host, my brosif most of the time, Joshua Ryan Rusin, the community director of Jake and Gino. Josh, how are we doing today, Josh?
Gino, doing well, man. Super excited to record another episode of Movers and Shakers. And actually, the guest we have today is definitely a mover and a shaker. We got Craig Napoliello. A little bit about Craig. He graduated college in 2002, and in 2003 moved to New York with no money, a suitcase, and an at best subpar resume to pursue his dream of being a trader, which was one of the greatest decisions of his life. He spent the next 11 years of his career as a fixed income trader, and now he works at a fintech firm. After being interested in real estate for much of his adult life and dabbling in single family ownership and investments, he began his multifamily investing journey earlier this year with the purchase of a duplex in January and has since closed on 31 units. Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right, so Craig, that's an interesting story there, and I definitely want to dive into it. So you graduate college, you moved to New York with a suitcase, no money, and obviously you climbed your way up the ladder now. Let's give the folks a little bit about your background, how you climbed the ladder, what that looked like, and who you are.
Great. So basically, sort of late in the game, probably my senior year in college, I decided I wanted to become a trader. I basically, one of my fraternity brothers was from the Northeast, so I sort of got some exposure about, at least what I sort of thought Wall Street was from my exposure to him. So after college, again, at this point, complete behind the eight ball, no experience, bad resume, like all the sort of the strikes against me. I decided that this was the sort of the time in my life that I was going to, try to pursue it. I moved up. I basically, for a period of time, I lived in Virginia in my grandmother's basement and worked at a UBS retail branch. And I got my license and sort of recognized this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking, for the sort of the real thing. So I left there. I moved up to the New York metro area so that I was at least local enough that I could be in striking distance of anyone, by chance wanted to meet with me. So I got a job as a waiter at the Short Hills Mall. And I lived for a period of time, I lived with my girlfriend at the time, her mother. Then I lived with another friend of mine's family in New Jersey when he was not there. I waited tables again, as I mentioned, at the Short Hills Mall. And I would, at this point, I had no contacts on Wall Street. My dad worked for the U.S. government. I never lived in the Northeast, so I basically had zero contacts. I used to wake up at 6 a.m. Or earlier, and literally cold call people. I would watch CNBC. I remember there was a guy named Todd Leone used to always speak on CNBC. I literally looked his name up and called the desk to speak to him. Wanted to meet with him. I basically sort of did that, just pounded the pavement, for months and months until I got the slimmest crack in the door. It was actually through there was a gentleman associated with my fraternity in college. He had put me in touch with a gentleman that had a job at Bank of America. I literally, this is one of these things, and this is something that I sort of see the flip side of it now. I called this guy, probably a total of 35 times, told him what I was doing, what books I was reading, why I was motivated. This is a busy guy. I had to follow up with him so many times. I came in and met him for coffees, sort of offered to do anything at the drop of a hat. And so when a position became available on a trading desk, the absolute lowest position imaginable, which though at the time was a dream. He thought of me, brought me in, and so I got a job on a trading desk at Bank of America in 2003.
What'd your parents think of you at the time? What was going through their minds? Because you're an Italian like me, and my mom and my dad would be like, "Would you just grow up and get a job now? Get out of the basement, please."
No, exactly. They were certainly. I'm sure they thought it was crazy. Listen, they were very, very nervous. They just didn't understand. Again, I basically had no money, no health insurance. I was, when I could have, I'm sure I just gotten a solid job. They were nervous for me. I'm sure they were there maybe a tiny part of them was proud of my resilience. But I think that the net of it is they're probably very nervous and wondering what the hell I was doing.
And what do they say now?
I mean, my parents have always been very supportive. I mean, they're very, they're proud parents. And that being said, they'd be proud parents sort of regardless of what I was doing, which is obviously a great place to be in. But they're certainly sort of proud that I stuck it out and made something of it.
So do you have the question or the conversation with them about what you do? Because I'll try to tell my mom what I do. And my mom's always been proud of me. And she'll be like, but I really don't know what you do. And I can't explain to her. So fintech and trading, I mean, do you have the same problems there?
Yeah. So I talked to my parents, I'd say have a good understanding. I talked to my dad about it regularly, and he certainly takes sort of is definitely very interested in learning about it. So we talk about it a lot, and he understands. I've talked about the real estate stuff now, and he's very into that, and again is just sort of excited. My parents are sort of living vicarious through me, and just sort of excited about all these different adventures.
That's awesome. So how did you get like that? I guess the affinity, the love for real estate. I mean, what made you attracted to real estate?
So when I say I'm not positive, prior to the multifamily, my multifamily interest, when I look back on my, I'm 39 now. So when I even look back over the past 10 years, I always would go to a place. I'd go to Charleston for the weekend or something. And I was always interested in looking at the real estate. Right. And I sort of ended up doing, for example, you guys, the emphasis you guys put on researching a market. Right. I was doing those type of things in a much less organized fashion. But for example, in 2012, I bought a single family place in Austin. I basically I went down there for a weekend and just started really digging into the market and came to understand, or at least felt confident enough there were a lot of tailwinds for that market, and buying a 3-bedroom condo, which I later sold. So basically, either way, it wasn't sort of it was more just like a hobby because I enjoyed it. It was not sort of an organized strategy, right? So I did that. I've done that a few times over the years. And then in October, my fiance's sister, told me that she was sort of doing, that she was interested in real estate, and sort of started sharing some of the content she was reading and listening to. So it was only in October when I really started going down this multifamily rabbit hole, and then began to sort of immediately understand the I think one is that at least to my mind, the advantages of multifamily versus single family. And then two is that the advantages of multifamily versus other investments.
So Craig, how did you get in touch with the Jake and Gino community, and what is the community education allow you to do once you joined?
Yeah, so that's something I'm looking forward to speaking about, because honestly, it's been a phenomenal experience for me. I came about the Jake and Gino community because I was I sort of went down this rabbit hole where I was just basically I was consuming a tremendous amount of information on based on real estate and multifamilies, right? So just through basically a random search on iTunes or my podcast, I came across Wheelbarrow Profits. So I started really digging in and consuming a lot of information there. Honestly, I liked. I think I told you the first time we spoke. I was not looking for I wasn't looking for a mentor. I wasn't looking for really anything. I was just basically consuming information. I ended up going to your website, recognizing you guys had a mentorship program. I had no idea. Wasn't looking for a mentor. I then basically reached out and spoke to you guys. Spoke to you guys about the program, and I sort of I say I immediately signed up. I knew this is a direction I wanted to go. I wanted to basically invest in my education. And I was mentioning this to Josh before the call started, but to investing the money and signing up for the educational, for the education with you guys, the resources that you sent me, right? You sort of started emailing me your contacts, right? I said to my fiance, I remember saying it was either it was within, I want to say 48 hours. I remember basically calling and contacting all of your contacts that you guys shared me, your cost seg guy, your finance guy, your accounting guy. And I remember getting off the phone with one of them and saying to my fiance, I think I've literally already made up the money I've invested in this, right? Because these are things that, this is, this is true. Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone. I mean, so many people I'm using now. My bookkeeper, my accountant, the cost segregation, all the financing strategy. All that. Literally, all those people came from my mentorship program, right? So that was that. That was a tremendous. When I say it was a tremendous advantage for me approaching a space that I really did not know. Right. This has given me the confidence to take serious action. Right. And I've even gone a step beyond. I mean, I'm all in on this. So I have joy of doing my life coaching now. I'm investing alongside you guys in deals to give me even more of a sort of a front row seat to your experiences. Right. So I'm all in.
So guys, everyone listening to this podcast, there's a couple things that stands out when I first met Craig. He's an action taker. That's the first thing, right? The second thing, I think he had clarity. He knew exactly what he wanted. He wanted multifamily. He's in a really busy job. He's in New York City's hopping and happening. And for everyone out there that says, I don't have enough time, well, if Craig has enough time to do what he's done in the last 6 months and to get clarity, there has no one out there has that excuse. So be sure what you want. And the third thing is, that action is great, but I think I know that I'm glad that he hooked up with us when he did, because we're able to save him a lot of money on all the services. And it's such a good feeling to know that you can pick up the phone and you have a referral from somebody that's doing something. That means a lot. And I guess the last part is the education piece, which is he's educating himself. He's constantly getting on with the weekly lessons. He's learning more. He's contributing. He's networking with people. We had the investor dinner back in June in New York City to get in front of Craig. We met him face to face. We had a great time at the bar. So all those things, all those intangibles, and I think the environment and the community mean a lot to investors. So I think that's really important. So Craig, where do you see yourself going next? You've got your deals. I know they're in New Hampshire in that market. You're investing alongside us. What is your long-term goal, your long-term vision?
So I think my long-term vision is, again, and now this is like, my long-term vision, of course, is evolving like anyone else's.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that I love about this space, is that it's not a one size fits all. Like you can really you can basically create a very personal path for yourself. Like I don't think, for me, what I love about multifamily, and again, like when I say this, I love it more, the more I learn about it. Like I can tell you something that's really changed. It's basically really blown my mind and has changed my whole perspective on where I can go with this. Just with personally, right? Is it like this the whole like the leveraging, right, of property management efficiencies, right? And this is something that I learn working with Dylan, right? And Dylan's walked me through and really showed me the line items, right, of what you guys do to turn units. Through the first deal I did, in my mind, I was literally in my mind thinking that it was going to be like $25,000 to turn a unit. You guys are turning units, for $2,000, right? That's I mean, the point is like understanding that. And I mean, I've seen now the line items, and this is one of the benefits that I'm having now of investing alongside you guys and understanding what goes into your process. That is literally changed the game for me, right? Understanding that those type of efficiencies, as far as it completely shifts the entire return profile. Every single penny. Right. Every single penny that you're investing is going so much further, right? When you have that type of process in place, right? So, just a lot of these things I'm learning recently through my coaching. I'm not even sure that I'll ever want to raise outside money right now. I'm investing, and I have a friend doing it with me. But part of me is like, I love my job. I want to be doing my job for a long period of time. It's just me converting my assets into more units and accumulating units, so that basically I pick my head up in 5 years and I have 250 units.
That's
right?
Awesome.
And then I have that, I can always fall back on.
So Craig, let me ask you, when you first started looking at real estate, I think to me, one of the most important things that we teach is there's a different strategy of getting into it, whether you're partnering, whether you're syndicating, whether you're raising money, whether you're buying the deals on your own. But did you look at real estate as a business before you connected with Jake and Gino? I think that's the big shift that I want to try to teach everybody, that multifamily really is a business. And like how you said it's not $25,000 to do a unit completely. Maybe it might be $5,000. It just shouldn't take 4 weeks. There's a system where you can implement. Did you look at multifamily as a business before you joined us?
No, and I didn't, and that's why again I think that I don't regret anything I've done, right? I mean, listen,
No.
if I'd signed up, to be quite honest, if I'd signed up for your mentorship before I did the first duplex that I did, I would have saved a lot of money, right? I mean, trust me, I'm very happy I did both, right? Because there's learning through a coach, and there's learning, also just sort of like through trial and error and making mistakes, right? But I mean, I certainly again would have not. I was not approaching the first thing as a business.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand like, how efficiently you guys turn 100 units, right? And how you guys examine every light bulb and, piece of wood that goes in the floor and, sinks and, all these type of things, like, which is great. The combination of the two things are going to get me where I need to be. Again, in hindsight, I certainly would have done this, which I was, didn't know your program. I would have done it before my first deal because I would have saved a lot of money.
I love that.
Yeah,
Let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. This is Jake Senziano, co-founder of Jake and Gino Multifamily Education. We are super excited to be bringing Multifamily Mastery Live to Orlando this October 19th and 20th at the Gaylord Palms Resort and Convention Center, located 10 minutes from Disney and the airport. This event is going to be the multifamily event of the year. Our team is going to be providing unparalleled networking, education, and capital raising opportunities. The event will be formatted utilizing our 3-step investment framework: buy right, manage right, and finance right. Your experience will include networking with brokers, lenders, and vendors from across the multifamily spectrum. Our speaker lineup consists of doers, or as Gino likes to say, the doers, meaning that these are professionals working in the business, making it happen day in and day out. If you're ready to take the next step in your multifamily investing career, click the link and get ready, because it's time to make it happen.
So Josh, hit me up, Josh. I know you're breaming over there. You want to ask a few questions. What's on the docket, my friend?
No. I got a few, a good one to go through a summary, man. Some good points. I've been taking notes. Craig, you're crushing it, by the way. All right. So we'll go back to, so Craig, we're just going to dive into short answers, just a heads up for you. And then we'll go with there. All right, Craig. So here's my takeaways so far on the show. I mean, one, dude, you are taking absolutely massive action, and it shows what's possible. Like Gino said, when you have that laser focus and that clear why of what you want to do it. What I want to do is dive into some quick short answer questions to get to know you a little bit better. So hopefully the listeners can take away a few more nuggets to implement in their career. So if I were to say, what is the best advice you would give to someone that's trying to buy their first multifamily property, and why?
I mean, I personally, I think you want to say, I think there's a couple of things. One is that, of course you want to be educated, like all the steps that you guys, lay out in your plan for your students. Right. But I think that, the most important thing, when I say is just making sure that you make sure you do a deal. Right. Of course, you don't want to do anything irresponsible or do something that doesn't make sense. But I mean, I think it's very, very important. Again, I feel like that I think it's important to lean into like making mistakes. Like, you're going to make them. It doesn't matter, right? I mean, you guys have over 1,000 units. I'm sure you guys still make mistakes every day, right? So it's like, so to not buy that first thing, being concerned that you're going to make mistakes, I would say, do it. Even if you're on the fence, do the deal, right? Do the deal, make the mistakes, learn, invest in yourself, right? I mean, that's really, I think, what it comes down to. Like, I think that's the most important thing by far is going through with the deal. I mean, who knows what you will learn from that? Everyone will have a different experience. The first duplex that we did. I mean, listen, if I had broken even, if I had lost a little bit of money, I still would have done. I mean, I know Gino has referenced many times that some of the first deals he did, not going the way he wanted, right? But I mean, that's fine. Look where you are, right? I mean, there's no, pretty much the only way that you're not going to make mistakes is by taking no action. Which I think which was a result or outcome that was unacceptable to me, right? You're going to make mistakes. Just basically, get started. Buy a property, make mistakes, learn from them. Keep moving forward.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that. Definitely fail forward. Craig, what about your favorite book?
So I have several. So most of my favorite books I say are real estate book wise, of course, like Rich Dad Poor Dad I think is a really just eye-opening book as far as personal finance, right? I mean, that's dramatic. It makes dramatic impact. I really think on most people that read it, right? I think that there's a lot of other books that I think are just great, great business books on how to approach a business. A lot of which I, send to you guys. How to win friends, influence people, delivering happiness, setting the table by Danny Meyer.
Onward.
Onward's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
But these are all, all the books that all those books that I, sort of just listed off are really about approaching people, right? Which applies to business, life, relationships, marriage, whatever it is. I mean, these books have to be in a business setting, but I think that applies. And I hear you guys, talk about, things like, culture and customers, right? Those are the lifeblood of any business, whether it's in real estate or fintech or, whatever the listeners are doing. That's the lifeblood of any, organization or successful business, right? So those are certainly the ones that stand out to me, and the lessons in those that, I think apply to, to real estate. When you guys talk about, especially say setting the table, the way that you guys talk about how you approach, your tenants, who are your customers, right? I think that's like a very important message. As I try to, say build out this business, I will, think of those things, which I know you guys apply in your everyday business, and Danny Meyer applies in his everyday business.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Yeah, I love that. Couldn't stress the importance of that. What about your best habit for success, and why?
I think really it's persistence and perseverance. I mean, like, so many of the things that I think that, which is amazing. It's like such a neutralizing thing. Like, you don't have to have an MBA or be rich or, to be persistent and, and perseverant, right? And follow through and stick with it, right? I mean, like, it's amazing that, like, that most people don't do that. I mean, I don't know the percentage, but some very, very, very high level people don't do that. When I think about when I got my first job, the guy that ended up basically, getting me a foot in the door, I can't even tell you how many times I call this guy. I mean, I'd call him, he'd blow me up. Hey, listen, dude, I'm busy. Call me back in 3 days. I'd call him back. He'd be like out of the office. And I'd call him back next week, right? And just literally following with this guy. I mean, I followed the guy. I mean, I don't know the number, 30, 50, 100 times before he believed that I was serious, right? Like now I can't even tell you how many people reach out to me from my alma mater or just through the business or whatever it is, reach out to me and they say, hey, I'm really interested in X, Y, Z, right? Like, hey, great. Listen, I'd love to talk to you. Let's get a coffee or whatever it is. Like, just follow up with me. Right. Just follow up with me. If I say to follow up with me once or twice, that eliminates like 95% of the people. I'm not telling you like this. I'm not setting like a difficult hurdle here. I'm saying, like, call me back next week.
Mm-hmm.
That eliminates like the vast majority of the people, right? So I mean, like, so literally just, and I think about it. I mean, listen, if I'd done that, who knows where I'd be, right? If I didn't call this guy 35 times, I'm not sure my career would or path would look much different. So I mean, these are things that you don't need anything to be persistent and perseverant, right? And follow through, and those type of things. Anyone can do that.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great. I think we got a lot of golden nuggets from this one, Gino. I want to kind of go over some of them. I mean, first, Craig, when your back was against the wall, you had no option to succeed but to succeed. And that pressure created diamonds. And then what you learned, obviously, through your network, it helped get you, with the fraternity member, get you in the job. And your network is highly correlated to your net worth. And then, guys, there's two ways to learn this business, but either way you're going to learn. It's the School of Hard Knocks or the School of Applied Knowledge, and which one you choose is up to you. Gino, how about yourself? What takeaways do you have from the show today?
So I've got a bunch. The first one is commit and then figure it out. Basically, something that Josh struggles with. You got to send that email. Josh is always worried. I'm like, just send the damn email out. Whatever happens, happens. If the computer blows up, the internet blows up, who cares? We'll figure it out. Right, Josh? So that took a long time for me to get there, right? Because I was always the nervous Nelly. But I'm like, what's the worst thing that can happen? You don't know the results until you commit. And you know what? Everyone says, what property should I start with? Should I start with a 100-unit list in the Grant Cardone, or should I start with the duplex? I say start wherever you feel comfortable, because as long as you start, that's the important thing. So you start with a duplex, and then you start creating your processes. And as you start scaling and growing the number of units, you have the experience. And, owning 50 units and owning 600 units are two different things. So I think owning the 50 units is great, and you can be able to grow into the 600 units. The other thing, there's a lot of things, Josh. The next thing is to educate yourself, right? You really need to educate yourself on any endeavor. If you're going to go to college for 4 years, spend 6 to 12 months on learning how to do multifamily. Go to a couple of live events, go to a couple of meetings, go to RIA meetings, go to Bigger Pockets, whatever it is. Start educating yourself. And if you're really serious on it, think about joining a community out there who teaches it. The next thing is the culture. Culture is so important in any business, and Jake and I poo-pooed it, but having culture and having core values and improving the lives of others through our communities and having that mission statement means everything in the world, because you can always fall back upon that. And talking about your tenants and calling them residents, and your units are not units, they're homes, right? Those are really important to start out and to build with culture. We didn't start with the culture in the beginning. We learned all the stuff, and now that's what we're teaching our students. Patience, persistence, and willing to walk away. A lot of us have patience. Some of us have persistence. And like Craig said, a lot of us are willing to walk away. We had a workshop with Joey Coleman. He says, I give my name out to everybody. I give my email out to everybody, my phone out to everybody. And people are like, why do you do that? They're all going to call you. He goes, nobody calls except for Jake and Gino. I called him the next day. I sent them over a video because I'm persistent, because he's got a ton of value. And if he's going to give me his number, I'm going to call him back. That's really important. And Josh is laughing over there because he knows, bro, don't give me your number because I'm going to call you. You know what I'm saying? And I think the other thing is, listen, you're not really paying for your education. You're investing in yourself. Craig's invested himself over the last 15 years as far as doing a lot of reading, as far as investing in personal development. And as you get older, and you're starting to spend the money, learn, the personal development, start growing yourself and start growing, because the more you can grow yourself, the more uncomfortable you can get from a duplex to 30 units in a different market, now investing side by side with others. That's really getting out of your comfort zone when you're not in that space. So that's really important to do that. So Josh, you have anything else? I can keep going because this has been a wealth of knowledge. And let me answer a couple other things. People are always saying to me, I can't get into multifamily. Well, Craig's he has an advantage because he has money. Money is not the advantage in this, because if you start out with money, you can be really sloppy with money. You know what? Because you're not really being creative. And if you think you have money, you may not have to educate yourself or do the due diligence to do all these other steps you need to do. Money is not the ultimate factor in getting to multifamily. It's really the connections, the networks, and learning the strategies and getting in a community that you can network with and grow and find deals and source deals. I think that's the most important thing. So, sorry, Josh.
No, Craig, I was going to ask, is there anything we missed or anything you have to add to this great show before we send it to how the listeners can get a hold of you?
I don't think so. I mean, again, this has been, when I say this has been it's really been a transformative thing. This is people come from, sort of different places. I mentioned, I love my job. And some people are looking to get away from their jobs, but I'm absolutely, but I have Dylan calling me on the line here. So I have, this has been sort of a transformative thing for me as far as, I'm absolutely, loving, sort of the interest that I'm taking in this, segment of the market. I love what I know this is going to do for me, down the road as far as financial freedom for myself, for my family. So yes, I mean, it's been a phenomenal experience, again, being in the space, learning, working with you all and working with you all to get me educated and to take me to the next level.
Craig, it's y'all, not you all. Remember that. I'm a Southern now, so it's y'all. So how can the listeners get a hold of you? Where can they reach you?
My email address.
Mm-hmm.
It's my full name, Craig Napoliello, CraigNapoliello, Craig Napoliello @gmail.com.
Great. Perfect.
Craig, I want to thank you for being an amazing guest on the show and sharing your mover and shaker story. Guys, if you want to be the next movers and shakers guest, email me, josh@jakeandgino.com. If you like the show, please leave us a review. And until next time, let's make it a movers and shakers week. See you, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Craig, keep MIH, my friend.
Thank you.